First things first, I'm the illest. Ooh, anyway, that song just came to my superstars. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can tell by the title of this video, we are doing a wind down Wednesday, and it is girl chat style. I'm going to be sharing all my experiences this far about my life abroad. We're going to get deep into the tea. But before we get into that, I'm going to be sharing this wine that I love. This is Josh, and it is a Cab Sav. So we're going to crank up this baby and we're going to spill all this tea. Has been one of those things that has forced me to grow. I'm telling you, once you're out of the nest, that's out of your parents' house, you have to expand, you've got to grow. So for me, it was like taken into moving out of the nest times 100, because not only was I outside of my mother's house, not only was I outside of Cape Town, Western Cape, I was outside of South Africa and completely outside of Africa in general, and in a new continent, starting out a new life and chasing my dreams and initially myself, you know. So that was the first realization that I had, and I was like, okay, so this is what we're gonna do in order to grow. So I came here to pull myself towards my thing that really I felt when I landed in Atlanta, because I was in transit. When I landed in Atlanta, I met Pila and other girls that we were sharing with. Pila kind of called me over, and then from there we became acquainted and slowly but surely became friends. So with that being in mind, at least I had a basis of, you know, somebody that's also doing this and is also on the same journey as me and who's also from home, which is the great thing. I met people from home as well. So, and then we got into our house in Florida, and it was really great. I got to have that. But then the thing was, when we started going shopping for food, the meat here is not the same, of course, the South African meat. And then we don't have the same spices. I had to adjust to that. And then I had to adjust to also a different work culture. I did have to say that I had to learn new skills. And the biggest thing that I really have learned this far is people skills. I always thought that I kind of had it, but people skills is an ever growing skill. You always learn that, okay, I can no longer approach certain situations the way that I used to. And then I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how to, you know, articulate myself in a more unemotional, professional way, right? That's like the surface level things that I have learned when I was in Florida. And then from Florida, got uprooted because it's part of the program, and here I was in New York. I've always wanted to come to New York. It's always been a dream of mine to come here, and I've always felt like the energy in the atmosphere in this city will always push me forward, you know. And look, I did not lie. What I felt in my spirit was exactly how it feels to be here. There's something in the air in New York, especially when you're in like the city, New York City, because I'm in New York State, but I'm not living in the city. But when you're in the city, there's this endless of possibility feeling that I feel, you know, the hustle and bustle of New York City. You know, it just makes you look around and just see opportunities. Honestly, I think for me, I needed to be outside of my hometown in order for me to see that, because I got too complacent and too comfortable for me to look at Cape Town that way. You know why? I sincerely believe it's because I always knew that I had a cushioning. I have a safety net. But now that I'm here, it's not that I don't have a safety net. I do, but at the end of the day, that safety net is in a different continent. So while I'm here, I'm like, you know what? Whatever it is that I'm doing here, I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to make it a success. The other thing that I've learned is that resilience is not necessarily a bad thing. For me, when people used to tell me that I'm resilient, I always thought that, oh, you know, they mean that I'm resilient. That means I can take a punch. That means I can, you know, I can suffer and still turn out fine. But actually, the longer that I got to be this side of the world, the more that I saw that actually resilience is more of the energy of an alchemist. You know what I mean? It means whatever is given to me, I am able to turn it around and make it something beautiful. What do I mean by that? I mean, in a sense of, I was not born into a wealthy family, but with the same energy, I was able to give myself experiences that people who come from money are able to experience, i.e., traveling. We've always thought that, oh, you need to have a certain amount of money to travel and A, B, and C, and D. But in terms of thinking outside the box and being creative, you don't have to be rich to travel. There's always ways on getting what you want. And when people would tell me that you're resilient, now that I am this much older, I get to look at it in a sense of, hey, these people are actually saying that I'm an alchemist. I get to turn anything into a positive experience. And that's like a beautiful thing about when you are outside of your comfort zone and you actually get to have some introspective and look at things, you know, from each and every angle and learn from what life throws at you. And now I'm being very vague, but like I really have learned a lot about myself. The other thing that I needed to learn to do was to reinvent myself, child. Reinventing myself, it doesn't come from a place of non-authenticity. No, it just comes from a place of looking at the woman that I was 10 months ago to the woman that I am today. That took a lot of reinventing myself. I had to learn how to deeply and really fall in love with me in order for me to reinvent myself. I mean this how? I had to see things that were destructive that I did. This has got nothing to do with other people, but like behaviors that are, you know, destructive, you know, to my own growth and my own potential. I looked at that things like procrastination, you know what I mean? Things like overindulging. And what I mean by overindulging, that is in anything. That is in food, leisure. Leisure means going out and, you know, having fun, and also eating too much junk food and all of these things. I had to actually reinvent myself and be like, you know, the highest form of myself wouldn't do A, B, and C. So I'm not going to be engaging in those things. And with reinvention also came to a point in my life where I actually had to look at myself and look at my reflections. And my reflections are my relationships. Your relationships with other people are reflections of you. Think about it. I had to look at the people that were my friends and really evaluate why so and so is my friend. What is such and such teaching me? For example, for me, I sincerely believe that in life, there's no such thing as a good or a bad friend. When you engaged with that person, you were aligned with that person, right? There was something that had to connect the two of you. So each person comes into our lives to teach us something. So it was my duty to look at this person and be like, thank you so much for teaching me this, but no thank you. Or thank you so much for teaching me this, and yes, please. So that's what reinvention really is about. And also I had to also look at myself and be like, this behavior pattern is not getting me where I need to be in life. So I've learned from this. I've taught myself that this behavior is detrimental. Therefore, I'm no longer engaging in this type of behavior, i.e. growth, uncomfortable growth. So those type of things is, when it comes to growth, you really need to hold yourself accountable. I've been holding myself accountable for the friends that I attract into my life and the friends that I choose to entertain, right? And also, not only just friends that I choose not to befriend, and why I keep entertaining that. Because, you know, I've noticed that in my life, it got to a point where I was entertaining a lot of negative thoughts, especially with people that I don't like. Why was I out here giving so much energy to people that I'm not aligned with, people that I'm not connecting with, people that I feel like, oh, they're really not good people for my journey, not in general, because that's subjective. They're great people to everybody else, but probably for me and my life journey, this person was not aligned to who I am. You know what I mean? And then I was like, okay, I'm entertaining too much of nonsense. And I also saw that I was entertaining gossip. Nobody got time for that. Nobody got time to be entertaining gossip, talking about somebody else negatively, where I actually have so much room for growth, so much room for self-improvement, because we create our life with our thoughts. The moment we accept that, the moment where I started accepting that, that's when I started guiding my thoughts, meditating more. And when I meditate, I necessarily meditate on what I want to achieve into my life, and I speak that into my life. So I'd rather keep quiet nowadays and just be like, money loves me, money recognizes me, money comes to me, money is comfortable around me, money multiplies in my presence. I would rather really do that than to sit and talk about anyone negatively. You know what I mean? I've grown into that aspect of rather to do that. I'm not any longer in line with talking about other people's affairs. I'd rather learn about trading. Something productive, something that's going to be beneficial, not only to me who's receiving, but to whoever is teaching me as well. Because that also, when you teach people things, what I've noticed is that you actually reinforce what you already know. You also teach yourself stuff. So that's what I've learned in my journey of the uncomfortable growth. And back to the culture shock of America. What I've learned here, people here approach dating very different. That whole thing of meeting somebody and then you kind of like them and then you focus on them and you see where it goes with that one person. No, honey, there's a roster. If you are dating, if people date in multiples, experience omufebe is like common here. I'm sorry, it's just what it is. That's just how I see it. Maybe because I'm a conservative South African, but that's how I see it. That's how things are. People are not just talking to one person, they're talking to 5 other people. And it's something that kind of like, it took a while for me to grasp, and it just taught me like to not take a lot of things too hard. Don't take things really seriously unless, especially in dating, unless someone is like, okay, you know what, we are exclusive now, we are exclusively dating now, you are my person, you meeting my mom and my dad and blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? And for me, it just taught me to get to a point of, I no longer take anything seriously unless we engaged. I said what I said. Unless my fiance, I'm no longer overplaying my role in somebody's life. I'm no longer playing, what is the word for it? I am no longer making homes with men that have not made their intentions clear, not only with me, but with my family, that they want to make me their family. It's honestly not that deep. Honestly, unless a relationship goes into a point of you and I are getting married, it's really not that deep. In fact, I'm still single. On my ID, I'm considered a single woman. I'm not saying that in a sense of I'm going to be out here messing with everybody. But at the end of the day, we got to take dating with a pinch of salt. It's trial periods. It's a trial period, and the trial period does not stop being a trial period up until he puts a ring on it. And that took me this long to learn, you guys. I used to take relationships seriously. They were not even that serious. It's crazy to say. It's crazy to admit, but that's how I used to be. So being here taught me that it is not that deep, sis. You do not have his last name. It is not that deep, my love. It is not that deep. It is not that serious. And another thing that I started doing was to hold myself accountable. Sometimes we focus so much on other people hurting us that we forget that we played a role in it. And then the other thing that I stood 10 toes on business was protecting my peace. Child, protecting your peace sometimes just means not dealing with certain family members. Another thing that I have learned was to be very selective of my friends. Very, very selective of my friends. You know, as I said, your friends are your teachers. Everyone that's in your life, your mother, your father, your whoever you are constantly allowing into your space, they're your teachers. How to live with other people. One thing about being on this program, you will learn to just live with abantu nje. I learned how to be considerate, super considerate, because at the end of the day, you live with people that work a separate schedules for you. Your manners actually come in check, darling. Another thing that I have to learn, and I like the fact that I'm saying have, because I'm still learning it. One thing that I have to learn is to not take things personally. Yeah, I tend to take things personally, like how people behave towards you. Most of the time, it's how they feel about themselves. And this also goes back to relationships, how people behave in relationships. Friendships is a relationship. You know, your parents are in a relationship with you, and it's called parenting. You are in a relationship with the kids if you have a child. How people perceive you, most of the time, it's how they perceive themselves. And sometimes it's how they are projecting. Because at the end of the day, we all have traumas and triggers. Sometimes you would say something that would trigger someone's trauma, and then they will start having this whole idea of, oh, you this type of person, and that's very further from the truth. People would say things to me that would also trigger me, and then I would think, oh, this is this type of person, and that couldn't be further from the truth. And what I've learned is that if sometimes I can just pause, get out of my feelings, and realize that a trigger is an opportunity for growth. You know what I mean? Triggers are opportunities for growth. That has been my uncomfortable growth this far, living in the big US of A. And this is me signing out from New York. And soon, I'm going to be back in Florida. I cannot wait to see my friends that are in Florida. I'm excited to see them. It's been a while about this journey that I'm on. And I just hope that whatever tools that God has given me, I am making the absolute best out of it. And if anything that this video has taught you is just whatever it is that God has given you, make the best out of it. Because that same energy is going to attract even bigger blessings. But that is it for this Wind Down Wednesday, and I will see you next time. Bye.